What's up, everybody? It's Alex Leak and Friends NFL Podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We've got Bret back on the show. What's up, Bret?
Hey, man. How's it going? Nice to be back.
Yeah, good to have you on. And this is the 2020 Houston Texans season preview. So let's get to it. Texans had a pretty good year last year. They go 10-6, win the division, win the AFC South. A comeback win over the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round after trailing 16-0. And then they jump out to a 24-0 lead in the divisional round against the Kansas City Chiefs. But we all know what happened after that. I don't even want to talk about it.
Oh, my God.
But no, I mean, incredible comeback by Mahomes and those Chiefs. They're explosive as hell.
Yeah.
But so are these Texans. Now, the big news for the Texans – let's start on last year. They go 10-6, win the division, get a playoff win. 16-0 comeback over Buffalo. That was pretty impressive, and Deshaun Watson showed a lot of clutch coming back to win that playoff game.
Yeah, they were able to show a little bit of what they showed us from. I'm pretty sure if it was that first week with the Saints.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game.
Yeah, that game was nuts.
Yeah.
But the fact that, that right there, it showed, kind of who Watson was, because, you're going up against Breeze in that situation, and to be able to respond in that manner, I see Deshaun Watson being able to lead this team quite a bit here over the next few years.
Yeah, he seems to have that superstar trait, and he's a good player to build around. The only thing that would – you got to keep an eye on is, health and running around and anything like that. So Deshaun Watson's similar to Russell Wilson, and I feel like he gets better when the play's screwed up and it's just schoolyard,
Yeah, he's able to then use his feet, use his, skills and other abilities.
Mm-hmm.
If he reads the fact that has to be scrambled, then it's just old school. I'm going to one-on-one every move here coming up. So if you're more athletic, and he's pretty athletic as a quarterback and person or athlete overall, so it's exciting.
Now, their addition. So let's first start. I mean, the biggest news for the Texans is trading away DeAndre Hopkins this offseason to the Cardinals. They get David Johnson in return. That kind of shit happens when Bill O'Brien's your GM, and you don't have a real GM. He's the head coach / GM, trying to be that Bill Belichick role for the Texans. What do you think of that trade? I mean, who in their right mind flips out? Sends Deshaun Watson in his prime, sends his number one option, who's in his prime, away from the organization. Texans fans couldn't have been happy after that.
Right, especially for something that wasn't as equally in return as well. It's just it was a confusing move. I don't know if again we aren't the minds behind it, so I'm not sure there's really a clear consensus as to why that happened. But yeah, it's confusing to see. If it works out for him somehow, then
it'd be a genius, but
I think there's going to be a lot of question if the Texans aren't where they were when they had the ability, like you said, with a star duo like that being in their prime.
You're talking one of the top three receivers in the game,
Right, and one of the most well-respected, hard to defend players. That also creates a lot more opportunity for Watson, on the field to be an athlete, because Hopkins is going to be, that's it. You pretty much have to, as a defense, always be 1, 2, 3 guys, know where he's at.
Yeah.
Now that gives you more of an ability to focus on letting Watson take his athleticism if he's unable to make the play, like you said, with his arm. So it is questionable, but we'll see what happens, I guess. If it works out for him, great. If not, they will probably take some heat for it.
Yeah, well, yeah, they got killed by the national media, Bill O'Brien for sure. I mean, I had Ross Tucker on the podcast and these different guys that were just like, what the hell is he thinking?
Right.
But in a way, I mean, looking at free agency now, they bring in Brandon Cooks from the Rams, wide receiver. They bring in Randall Cobb from the Cowboys. We already mentioned David Johnson came over in that trade for D-Hop.
Right.
And they get safety Eric Murray from the Browns. But looking at their receivers, so I look at it right now and I see Brandon Cooks, I see Will Fuller, I see Randall Cobb, Kenny Stills, Kiki Kuti, even Stephen Mitchell Jr. and DeAndre Carter to go with tight ends Darren Fells, Jordan Thomas, Jordan Atkins. You know what? That's still not bad. I mean, that's a big loss in DeAndre Hopkins, but that's still not bad. And in my opinion, you know what happens sometimes, you're a Lions fan, so you remember Stafford and Calvin Johnson combination. Sometimes when you have that ultimate star number one option, I think the quarterback will tend to stare him down more and always be looking at him. And I have a feeling that Deshaun Watson could have a major year based on all these options. There's not one superstar, but there's a lot of serviceable pieces that maybe he can spread the ball around and they can be even more difficult to stop.
Yeah, and that's something that I think maybe was that came into play as far as what they did.
Bill O'Brien's mentality. Yeah.
It's still really hard to just fathom the fact that they did that. But again, knowing that they have this core and that they have this kind of weaponry, especially with what you said, you're right. It is hard, much harder as a defense to not have that guy there sometimes. If as weird as that sounds,
I know it sounds weird, it's harder to defend without DeAndre Hopkins being there, but
right. But the fact, what you said, you're right. Stafford, that was a thing. People knew that Johnson would have not only was only his, but would have been pretty much any quarterback's top. I'm gonna 8, 9 times out of 10 he's gonna be looked at. So teams knew that they were able to base their formations and base their game plan off of that, and now it makes them much more difficult. But I that's still it's a hard thing to say, and as far as justifying why they did it, but
you can't really justify it. But you can be like there's no excuse to trade DeAndre Hopkins and get so little back. That's the biggest thing.
Right. I guess I meant more so in the fact that you would just get rid of him in the first place. But yeah, even that's
their
I'm not sure what they were thinking, but they could have definitely got more and still had quite the receiving core.
Yeah, and so it's dumb as hell to get rid of D Hopkins 100% and to get that little return. But the additions that they brought in since then, plus, I mean, I like their weapons before they brought in Cobb and Cooks. You got Kenny Stills, you got I'm drawing a blank. You got Will Fuller. You got Kenny Stills. You got Kiki Kuti, who had pretty good years last year.
Right.
So
it's you got to. I guess that's the way to look at it. If I'm a Texans fan, even though it's hard to look at it that way. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure that there was some communication with Hopkins and with.
There has to be communication with Deshaun. Yeah.
To know what was going on, and not that Hopkins really would have had a decision, but maybe so more Watson, he's your future guy. So not that it was ideal, because I would not be like, yeah, get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, but they had to inform him of what was going on. He had to be on board with it. So
you would hope so. I'm always in the camp of, if I've got a star quarterback, I want to go through him. I want to clear things with him before I do it, because I want him to be happy with the team that he's on and the situation around him.
Absolutely.
That's my biggest beef with the Packers and how they've handled Aaron Rodgers throughout his career, is by never hearing him out and giving him the pieces that he wants, firing his quarterback coach, getting rid of Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb and these guys.
without at least approaching them.
Yeah.
Something that in the trust factor it gives you as a quarterback, as a franchise quarterback, is even more like the ability to be able to make those. You're not going to be the clear cut like, okay, yes, my answer is what decides this.
Yeah, but you want that input.
Right, and that also helps. Like if you have something that you aren't necessarily on board with in a certain situation, then that's when the organization that approach you as their franchise quarterback needs to take into account. So I don't know if it necessarily would have mattered if Watson wanted to keep him or not, but I would guess that they had to have at least informed him and brought him in prior to that decision.
I would hope so. And, I look at the way teams build around LeBron or the way teams build around, to go to basketball. But let's stick with football even. The way, guaranteed, the Patriots aren't doing anything crazy without checking with Tom Brady. The Saints with Drew Brees, Even the Steelers with Big Ben. I mean, that shit happens all the time. So the Texans, I would hope are doing that.
Right. And it's, something that you got to be able to trust the communication, because without it, it's not going to be easy to be successful.
Communication's key. And, the worst thing that could happen to the Texans is have a disgruntled star franchise quarterback.
You're right. I agree.
Then looking at the players that they lost, let's go to the draft. They get defensive tackle Ross Blacklock in the second round from TCU, and linebacker Jonathan Grenard in the third round out of Florida. I like both of these guys. They're both athletic defensive players that could help this team. They gave up 28 and a quarter to the Chiefs. You've got to improve that. You look at how much the Saints threw up on them points wise. So they need to improve the defense to help. How do you score? How do you go up 24-0 and then have the lead blown just like that? You got to be better defensively and help Deshaun in that offense.
Absolutely. I'm sure that game and that quarter specifically was the reasoning for the way that they drafted.
Yeah.
Not that they wouldn't have prior, but
that was the final straw.
All right, let's see what the hell happened here. And this, we need some help. Because, that's – I'm not saying that it's easy to put up 28, be up 28-0 on the Chiefs and then still win the game. Obviously, it's not. But that's – you're still professionals. Like, that should not be happening.
Yeah, you got to do better than that. And so hopefully these two pieces in the draft will help the defense. Right. They did lose DeAndre Hopkins, running back Carlos Hyde, running back Lamar Miller, and corner Jonathan Joseph. Now, everyone talks about David Johnson being not anywhere equal to DeAndre Hopkins, and that's very true. He's not anywhere near. Maybe in his prime, he was an MVP candidate, but he's quite a few years away from that. Right. But I pulled up a tape today looking at 2019 David Johnson with the Cardinals, and he played 13 out of 16 games. He's a decent running back, and for being a running back, he's got pretty good hands. He's a pass-catching running back. So Deshaun Watson can use that. He can be serviceable in this offense.
Yeah. That's definitely something that, even though it wasn't the most ideal for the fans or whoever as far as the organization, and even outside we're questioning, but it's the fact that they still do have a weapon there, and it's not that David Johnson isn't exactly the replacement that you would want, because it's receiving, going down to there. But like you say, he can make plays, gives this offense still an ability to be triple-headed here with the ability of the quarterback being such a threat. You have that core with different guys, different skills receiving-wise, and now you at least give yourself some kind of position back there to be able to make defenses think like, all right, it's going to be a little different instead of pass here.
Yeah, and I mean, this is gonna sound crazy, but I really do believe this is how much I trust Deshaun Watson. I'm rocking his jersey, so I should. I liked him at Clemson. I liked him. I wanted the Bears to draft him, number 2 overall, number 3 overall. I didn't want to trade up. Instead, we took Mitch, so got to deal with that. But Deshaun Watson, I have so much faith in him. I believe he is a future, if not already, a future star, like quarterbacks in this game. I think that you can take DeAndre Hopkins off this roster like you did this year, have this roster right here, and have it not really affect the win column. It's bold, but I really do believe that. I think they can go 10-6 with this roster with no D-Hop.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they have the potential still. I mean, they're not just, losing one player is not
it's a team sport.
Or loss or make or break, but it is still a huge impact and a different change for this offense and their look. So
we're going to see how their offense looks without him.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we can't just say, oh, well, they're not going to be successful because of this situation. They still are. The Texans still are who they are as an offense. So, yeah, it's going to be something that's different. It's a different look. It's going to be weird not seeing him in the Texans jersey out there on the field to start the game or at all. But, let's see what happens here. They still are talented. They're strong. They got a quarterback that can make plays. Like you said, even with it's not with his arm, he sees, reads defenses. He'll use his legs, so they should be all right. I think they'll be contending in that division. I believe. I also think that they're going to be 9 to 11 win range, but I will say 10-6 is very ideal.
I agree. I got 10-6 in the 8 to 11 win range, just because that 8. Being they lost DeAndre Hopkins, so if worst case scenario happens, 8-8 and you miss the playoffs, regressed, that's worst case scenario, I think. But no reason they can't go 10-6 and get back to the playoffs and win this division with the pieces they still have. They're my pick to win the division, and I think they can overcome the loss of DeAndre Hopkins with the pieces they have. And then you look at running back. I mean, David Johnson is serviceable with good hands. You got, let's see here, you got Duke Johnson as well. And then how about your guy Karan Higdon on this roster?
Yeah, playmaker there.
Yep.
They do have some depth there, so they have the ability to make many different, formations and have many different packages, people that they can throw out there, and we'll see what works. That's the nice thing. Like you said, they don't have a superstar out there in the receiving core, or I guess overall in the skill set, but they have a bunch of pieces that can do a lot of different things combination wise, and there has to be one that is going to be most difficult for defenses to be able to analyze and figure out. So I think it helps the fact, like you said, without Hopkins out there, there's a lot more eyes over the field instead of one way.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of receiving running backs, because that seems to be the new run almost. It was like short, quick passes to the running back, just get it in their hands. And I think that these guys can definitely help with that. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you Houston Texan fans are as well. It's going to be a great year. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thanks, Bret. And have a great week, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We're on iTunes now. Peace out.